Hey everyone, Long here, and I watched Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, and I gotta tell you something. The movie itself is actually pretty dang good. I really love the movie. I think Anya Taylor Joy is a great, is a great actress. I love her from the Menu, eating that awesome looking like smash burger. Her performance as Princess Peach on the Super Mario Bros. Movie, I thought she is overall a really great, fantastic actress, and getting to see her like do her thing in doing a thing as Furiosa. I think I actually didn't have a lot of high hopes for the movie, especially with the climate that's been going on, where you don't really see a lot of male protagonists. And especially not white male protagonists in this climate of the entertainment industry. But I actually was willing to give the movie a chance, and and I'm really glad I did. She is absolutely fantastic, and I think she pulled off being Furiosa well. But I also very much, but the other actor I really enjoyed watching is one of my most favorite like actors, like character actors. It's Chris Hemsworth, and he actually was one of my more favorite like MCU heroes. And up until the end of the Infinity Saga, and I really do admire like Chris Hemsworth as a really great actor, and I think like he's extremely like wholesome in many ways. A lot of the movies he's been in these days, he does it like with his family. So his wife Elsa Pataki, she actually plays a couple of roles in this movie. She's one of the henchmen, and then she's also and I forget like there was another role that she was in. But anyway, Elsa Pataki actually like appears has been appearing in a lot of the same movies as Chris Hemsworth is, and I think even at one point she had played a stand-in for Natalie Portman. I think it was like in Thor: The Dark Thor, one of the Thor movies. I forget, but anyway, it's really cool to see like Chris Hemsworth doing his thing, like doing his family man thing, and like here in Matt and Furiosa, he actually plays and he actually his character is actually more than one dimensional. I actually thought he was going to be some brawny super villain, but it turns out he's actually a lot more complex than this, and it's really great to see him get a lot of character. So that doesn't necessarily mean he's gonna get all wimpy or sissy, like, but you really do get to understand a lot of like what formed him as a character. And I think, in Hollywood these days, it's kind of rare to see, many different dimensions layered into characters, and especially like people who are supposedly like simple, and then you get to see see their character development. So it's kind of cool. So anyway, so now let's go ahead and like talk about like what made the movie great. So starting with the setting and then the plot. So the setting is basically um, you know uh, around the same it was like uh, happened, so like the end of civilization has already happened. Like you hear the about like the current events that happen that lead up to the apocalyptic world of Fury, of Mad Max. Furiosa, because this is a prequel, we already many of us already know what happens. So she's going to survive, and she's going to get to and she'll eventually get into a moments where she eventually meets Mad Max. So that is essentially not really the whole point of the tension. The tension point in this movie, it's basically just a telling of how Furiosa came to be. So Furiosa was once part of. So I'm just going to only spoil like the beginning of it. So she is essentially like part of a civilization that has known and currently live in a world of abundance, which is very rare because in Australia, because like the universe is actually it takes is set in Australia, post apocalyptic. Basically, everything has been wiped out. Like money is worthless, and all people have to go by is wherever they can scavenge all across Australia. So, and in Australia, there's very little room for greenery, and you really can't survive that well unless you actually are able to find nourishment and a place to like rest, and like you have to like constantly like stay hydrated and just overall like keeping good health. So, and this is where it starts with Furiosa, just um, enjoying life in abundance until they she and her friend spot a pack of raiders who happen to fall upon like their land of abundance, and so things happen. Furiosa is kidnapped, and then her mother tries to chase after her, and so of course, and unfortunately, like that's basically the unfortunately, like things don't go well because and because this is essentially what kicks off the end, the start of the movie, where Furiosa ends up like going through her transformation process, not like from being like this really sweet like civilized girl to becoming the ultimate road warrior, Furiosa, and eventually she and then like for those who have watched like Mad Max Fury Road, you know that she eventually becomes Imperator to Immortan Joe, who is also in this movie. So so that's essentially like that's basically the rundown of like what that movie is. So now on the other side, now like and that's so that's basically the setting, the plot, and now let's get into how Chris Hemsworth figures. So Chris Hemsworth, like plays the role of. Let's see. Oh yeah. So so now let's talk about how Chris Hemsworth worth figures into the plot of the movie. He is Dementus. He is a warlord of a horde of bandits who seek out like nourishment, and basically, they're essentially like like human locusts. Not literal locusts, but figuratively speaking. So anything that they get their hands on, they eventually consume, destroy, and then they move on to something else. So which is and Furiosa ends up being delivered to the Dementus, and she ends up like growing up with Dementus and starts learning the ways of the wasteland, and while Dementus is basically out destroying everything that he can, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's an invincible like warlord. He does get licked, but he can take it and he can actually dish it back in his own ways. So like and this is essentially like and this is like, to me, this is what's really fascinating. Not everyone can like run over each other very like really easily, and even if they do, eventually like they just come back. They're everyone's basically cockroaches in this movie. Like even if you like stomp on them, eventually they survive the stomping, and then they they live to like come back and pester. And that's exactly the kind of role that Chris Hemsworth Dementus plays. And Dementus is like so freaking diabolical. And I have to say, like, he's pretty dang good at it. So I mean, like, but yeah, but ultimately you have to like root against him, because he is at the end of the day a really bad guy, and he ends up becoming like the main focal point for for the movie. So Anya Taylor-Joy, I'm also going to spoil a little bit of this. I mean, you won't actually see her until she ends up growing up from being the little girl into into the adult form of Furiosa, and the story itself is extremely fascinating. And what's even really cool is like the world building and how that actually like in and how in a way ends up being a character in this movie. And that's the thing that I love most about movies like this, is that the environment itself is a character who ends up who ends up influencing the movie in many ways. So Furiosa is not a straight up like Mary Sue character. She goes through like a brutal transformation, and she ends up like going through a lot of she ends up taking many beatings, and she gets close to she knows that she needs to like survive, and ultimately that she like many times, like despite being close to like getting broken, she actually ends up finding the strength to fight back, and then even like get smarter, and mostly like gets away with it. And this is and of course like the tension itself is not really there, mainly because this is a prequel movie, and that's unfortunately a given. So that's one of the main weaknesses I see like with prequels, is that for certain like how events are going to play out. Then the more interesting part has to be the journey, because if the journey itself is not very 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 like interesting, and the end result is not very compelling, then it's not going to work very well. And thankfully it does. I mean, like there's how this like universe is built is absolutely crazy awesome. The war boys are like some of the most fierce, and yet sometimes like very very culty about their devotion to their leader. And they willingly sacrifice themselves in order, for their leader. And it's really fascinating, if not extremely dangerous. But I am very much sold on the Wasteland, and that this is like how it was like even in Fury Road. And you can definitely see a lot of the psychotic behavior that's that's out on display. It's kind of cool. This could and the great thing about it is that the Mad Max universe has seen many video games, and they've definitely built the world for that. So now that I've kind of like talked about like the plot, let's talk about like and many of the good things. Let's talk about like what could be like kind of the shortcomings of this movie. So unfortunately, this movie is actually like has been released in a climate that unfortunately where many would-be moviegoers have seen the strategy of being pushed away because of the political climate that's there. And for those of you who have been keeping close tabs on what's been going on, this movie is not going to this kind of movie is the kind of movie that will actually repulse Mad Max moviegoers from seeing it. And like the general feeling of the movies that have been coming out lately, poor quality, really terrible narratives, and ultimately messaging are what's going to end up like dragging this movie down. The box office success, I mean, like there's already reports out there that the movie is only going to project to make anywhere between $30 to $50 million, and on the budget that like Furiosa is on, and which is reportedly $168 million to make. This is actually not good because essentially like this is not one of those movies that's going to end up making a lot of money. The movie is rated R. It is very very violent. But it would have been a very good watch, if not for the current climate. And we have to be honest with ourselves. Unfortunately, this is a pattern. Like the Furiosa is ultimately going to become a victim of the of a pattern that had been forming for some time. And honestly, like, I don't blame people for like skipping it and they've had enough. And if you don't count in the political climate, you also have to consider the mindset of like watching a movie from the time that we had gone in lockdown from due to COVID. And the problem there is that like we have now adjusted a lot of different attitudes and different behaviors where rather than go in the movie, why not wait for the movie to become streamable and like rent the VOD or check out the DVD from the library or the Blu-ray from the library, whatever format that the movie is going to come out in. People are just going to wait for this movie to like come out on that. So now personally, I actually did enjoy the movie, but I can also see, I had a very, very terrible movie experience. I got to the movies about like 10 minutes before my movie was set to go because that's what the ticket said. And then so since I got there 10 minutes, I figured I already got in my seat and I've got everything I need to get ready for this awesome movie. And I am sitting there for the next 28 minutes watching a lot of different trailers, including some pretty decent like red band trailers. But then I also saw movies, previews for movies that are not really relevant to me. And so to me, this is like a major killer in the movie going experience. I understand that like we sit through like movie previews and stuff, but like 28 minutes is way too much. Maybe it's the fact that I haven't been at a movie for some time now, but this is wrong to do, to get people hyped for movies that some of which don't even make sense to like showcase to people watching Furiosa, Mad Max Saga. So people like to tout a lot about like AI, and so why aren't they using AI to like try to guess at like movies that moviegoers of Furiosa might be interested in? Why not like just showcase that stuff? Like base it on the the studio making the movie, and the publisher or whatever. I don't know. I mean, like, what's the point of sitting through getting to the movie on time and then sit through like nearly another half hour of previews, and basically just ruin the experience? I mean, I don't know exactly what the big brain theory plot is. Is it to get people like impatient and then just say, you know what, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom, or I'm gonna pay for like a $10 popcorn, a $15 ice cream, $8 soft drinks, whatever. I mean, like, I bring that up because someone actually had brought up in my Instagram stories that I ranted about this in Instagram stories, that people will use that time to like just get up and stretch and then just watch it, but and then like make their last minute decisions. But then why not instead have the theater inform everyone that there's going to be this many previews, and that kills the experience. I mean, the next time I go to see 3 more movies, and then the same thing happens again. And right there, I've lost basically like a short movie's worth of time in my life that I'll never, ever get back. And I think this is one of many legitimate problems about the movie going experience. Why would I sit through that many previews when I can just like stay at home and then just for a low price or like a reasonable price, I can actually stay home and watch the movie? So there you go. So those are some of those are just some of the pitfalls, the shortcomings that I can see with the success of Furiosa. So yeah, politics, and then like the behavioral experience of going to see a movie. So honestly, I'd be very shocked and surprised if this movie even makes its budget back. But the Memorial Weekend does not look very good. It does not look promising at all. And that's a shame because this movie is actually pretty decent. It just came at a time after so much garbage has been released that people don't really trust the movie going experience anymore, and I have to call it out for that. So, um, so yeah. Other than that, like, so having said that, now I'm gonna go ahead and give a rating for Furiosa. Honestly, I think this movie actually deserves a 9 out of 10, and I say that from the with. And I say that because the movie itself is actually extremely good. I very much loved Anya Taylor-Joy's like Furiosa, in spite of like the political climate. I think this is essentially like if anyone really wanted to make strong female heroes, like heroes, and this is how you would do it. Unfortunately, it came way too late. Basically, because people were shortcutting it too much, and like like the female heroines that came before her were just way too perfect, and they were like, no, I don't need no man in my life, I don't need no babies in my life, I am a strong, fierce, independent woman, and I don't need no one but myself. And this is not, and you kind of see that here, but she actually goes through her own journey to becoming that. So she gets beaten up, she gets cut up, and she goes through a lot of hell. And I believe that her eventual like outcome actually ends up being earned. So and I'll understand if people don't necessarily agree with me, because at the end of the day, I mean, like, you can have all the like you can like throw all the like strong female heroines at me all you want. If they are interesting enough, I will give them a chance. But the problem is that like but the problem now I see is that like the current political climate in the entertainment industry basically favors people of certain types more so than a some of the other types. It's basically like favoritism at this stage, and that really annoys me a lot. So I mean, I gave the movie a chance, and I actually did like it. So for those of you who are going to be like, no, Long, you know what, you're kind of you're a d-bag for liking this movie. Well, I say to you that, hey, this movie is actually good. I'm actually surprised about how great this movie was. So there you go. So you can make this kind of movie work, but yeah, but make the heroine interesting, and more importantly, give Mad Max his spotlight back. This is his saga after all. I mean, Furiosa got a prequel. It's time to revive Mad Max from Fury Road, and then make him a relatable superhero in this climate again. So anyway, that's it from me. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please do, if you liked what you saw here today, please do like the video and then comment on what you enjoyed or didn't enjoy. If you want to see more awesome content like this, please do subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell. All right, thank you very much. Hang loose.